theme of Kyle Shanahan evolving and everything, I know I kind of keep going back to that. We see him being more positive about his quarterbacks. We know that a lot of players think of him as a players, maybe not players coach, because they do talk about him kind of giving it to them straight and like not sugarcoating everything, but in a way that they really respect. But Jimmie Ward did go on the Richard Sherman podcast. I don't know if you caught what he said. I'm not super. He made some comments about him thinking that Jimmy Garoppolo could have potentially have played, but maybe was having a standoff with Kyle Shanahan. I was less interested in that and more interested in the fact that Jimmie Ward said that he and Kyle Shanahan did not speak to each other after the Bucs game because Kyle basically got mad that Jimmie Ward was a bit frustrated with him toying around with his position and stuff. And with this, I was just interested in your opinion on that because I feel like giving Kyle a lot of credit, seeing how he's treated this season so far, but obviously they're winning, so there's not a ton to criticize. But I found that like a window into maybe not a star, not like Debo. You ask Debo and he's like, "Kyle's my man," and I thought that I really appreciate Jimmie Ward's openness and honesty, and I found the interview interesting. So I didn't know if you had comments.
Yeah, I mean, well, the one thing I thought was interesting, man, how you talked about Jimmy G. I did think that was interesting because I reported that. That's what a source told me at the time, and everyone gave me a bunch of shit about it. Am I allowed to cuss on your channel? Because that's like the third time. Just let me know if you don't want me to cuss.
I think so. All right. I do. Is there like a YouTube problem?
YouTube allows it. It's up to you.
Though, oh, okay. So, yeah, I don't care. I accidentally said the F word in my very first solo stream, and my dad like texted me after, and he was like, "Don't cuss." Or whatever, or cuss less. Good. He also told me to stop interrupting when I was on my show with Vish. My dad's just been giving me all
good for him.
He's one of the like very few people in here all the time. So I'll stop interrupting you.
And I'm assuming he's a Niner fan too, right?
He is. He's why I'm a Niner fan for sure. My baby blanket was a 49er blanket.
Good dad. What a good dad that you got there. But yeah. Back to what I was saying, I thought it was interesting what he said about Jimmy G because that's what I heard, and so it's good to hear that confirmation. But in regards to him and Kyle Shanahan and that relationship, what I think you see between those two guys is just very different. I love Jimmie Ward. Like one of the things I wanted the Niners to do this year was bring Jimmie Ward back. He was probably my favorite player on the 49ers defense when he was here. I love him. But at the same time, Kyle Shanahan has to make the decisions when it comes to who's playing where and doing what. And Gibson was balling his ass off. Originally, when Gibson was back there while Jimmie Ward was hurt, I'm like, okay, when Ward comes back, we got to put him back there. But Gibson is such an underrated player on this team. He is playing really well. He's playing as good as you can ask from a safety. So as well as he was playing, it was really hard for Kyle and even for me as a fan. Like I love Jimmie Ward. He's one of my favorite players, but I'm watching Gibson play and he's doing a fantastic job. And you don't, as a coach, because I coached basketball for 10 years, as a coach, if it's not broke, you don't fix it. And it wasn't broke. So you don't want to mess with that. You don't want to have Gibson on the bench when he's a good player just to put Jimmie Ward back at his position. So I understand why Kyle Shanahan made the decision he did, but I also understand Jimmie Ward's personality and why he felt the way he did. And that's just the nature of the beast. I don't knock Kyle Shanahan for what happened with Jimmie Ward. I don't. But I also understand where Jimmie Ward's coming from. He's been moved around a lot. So I get both perspectives. I don't think either one is wrong.
Can I interject?
Sure.
I love your perspective as a coach, and I agree as a fan kind of Jimmie Ward being like, okay, I want Jimmie Ward to come back because I just like him. I think he's given so much to this team, and you kind of like get that, at least I do as like a fan, get that loyalty towards a player and everything. Yeah. So I do understand Gibson's performing great. This is a product. We need to win games. You have to put that first. So I don't blame Kyle for that, but I do think that like this, because I'm more like I'm interested in Kyle as like his personality, his like characteristics. And when you go back to Brandon Ayuk in the doghouse, Deebo Samuel had to go tell Brandon Ayuk that he needed to go show up at Kyle's office because Kyle didn't make that effort to repair that relationship. When we're talking about Kyle and how he's treating Purdy right now that they're in this honeymoon stage versus how he treated Jimmie, maybe if there was tension or resentment towards Jimmie. I mean, we're not in the room, but so maybe he did this, but you could gather from what we've heard about Kyle's interactions when he's in terms of conflict that maybe he's a bit avoidant and doesn't do a really good job at like being the person to initiate resolution, which like as a coach, I feel like is super important that you're the one doing that, not putting that on these, 20-year-olds.
Here's my thing on that. You're getting to a point that I've been saying for a while, and people don't like it because they don't like when you talk about Kyle Shanahan negatively at all. And it's just being honest criticism. I don't think Kyle Shanahan has a strong EQ. He's very intelligent. He's a genius when it comes to play calling, but his emotional intelligence, the way he deals with players. One thing as a coach that you got to learn is how to deal with every player. You don't deal with them all the same. There's some guys you need to be hard on some guys. Some guys you got to kind of nurture and talk to, right? So he could have addressed the situation with Jimmie Ward in a different manner, right? Like he didn't have to let him play safety. He could have still kept him at nickel, but it's the way you talk to Jimmie Ward and the way you pull it out of him. Like, hey, Jimmie, man, like, I'm not going to do it right now.
Jimmie touched on that. Jimmie touched on that. He said like that Kyle Shanahan tried to basically play dumb and be like, oh, like, what do you mean, man? And Jimmie was like, just don't treat me like I'm stupid. Don't treat me like what you're doing hasn't been a pattern. Like approach this with respect. Like Jimmie Ward said going into the Chiefs game when he had his broken hand, he knew that he had to play because he knows what it is. He's been in the league. He understands, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but I think where he because he said him and Kyle Shanahan to this day, like they didn't have an exit interview. They did not talk. And I think what made that happen with Jimmie Ward was kind of like, hey, don't like, this is like such a gross analogy, but what is it, like shit in my hand and tell me it's flowers or something like that?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
But it's like, don't BS me basically. And like have this conversation with me like a man kind of, I think is what Jimmie Ward's
it's not what you say, it's how you say it sometimes.
Yeah. And I'm wondering if you think that Kyle, that's something that we can make any conclusions on. Do you think Kyle has reflected on that being a poor thing that he did and wants to change that? Do you think that Kyle has any urge to reflect on anything like that? Or if he's winning games and doing fine, that he does not,
I don't think Kyle, I think Kyle, this is my system. This is how we run it. This is how I feel. This is how we're going to do it. I don't think he is good at that. That's why I've said it before. I said it on Twitter. I don't think he has high emotional EQ, right? I don't think I don't think he can put himself in the perspective of others and finesse those situations really well. I think he's pretty cutthroat when it comes to things like this is what we do, period. And I don't think he's very self-reflective on, I need to do a better job because Jimmie Ward came out talking trash about me to Richard Sherman. No, I don't think that's who he is. I think he's just going to continue to do things he's doing. Now, I'm not saying he can't evolve or get better, improve at certain things, or that he doesn't want to. I'm sure he does, but overall, I think Kyle's who he is, and I don't think we can expect a lot of big changes in that regard.
That's interesting. You do like notice kind of like a lack of empathy, which is interesting coming from a coach that has been pretty successful, but does have like a lot of players that do talk very highly of him. But it is probably not a coincidence that those players are also incredible talents that have been paid lots of money.
Yeah, well, when you're good, it's easy, right? When they're good and they're running and they're doing great in Kyle's system, it's easy to have that relationship. It's when you have those adversity, and I don't think Kyle's great at those situations.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if for the rest of the year, the Niners just keep blowing out people and winning all their games 17-0.
Yeah.
Or if Kyle Shanahan does need to face some adversity and evolve. I hope that previous years losing in the NFC championships, making it all the way up the mountain and then crumbling down. I hope that you would hope that reflect or causes some self-reflection and maybe Kyle should look more into personality stuff than just play calling and just the plays. I think fans can kind of underestimate how important that is when we're talking about how great Brock Purdy is. I think his escapability, super good. His ability to make quick decisions, super good. when you talk to the players and you ask them why Brock Purdy is great, they talk about his leadership and his confidence. And obviously, if they were losing, that wouldn't matter. And, they did similar stuff with Jimmie G. But I think mindset has a lot to do with success. And I think that would be important. But
Absolutely.
And I think the 49ers mindset going into this Cowboys game, to wrap it up, is that as long as they are physical and stick to their how they want to apply their offense. And
what's your score prediction, Ashley?
I think it's gonna. That's so interesting. Like, do you think it's gonna be above 30? I think it's gonna be a lower scoring game potentially, because I think both teams want to run the ball. But I could see Debo going off. I don't have an exact prediction yet. You go first, and I'll come up with mine in my head right now.
Yeah, I got 27-17 is what I've been saying for the last 2-3 days. 27-17 Niners. That's my prediction. I think they'll score a little less than normal because of the Cowboys defense. This is going to be the best challenge for the 49ers have faced, but I think they can still hold the Dallas offense below 20. So 27-17 is my prediction.
I like that. Okay, I like 27 because I was thinking that too. I was like, probably get like 3 touchdowns, 2 field goals. I like that. I think I could see the Cowboys getting 2 touchdowns and a field goal. I like that prediction. That's
You're
not
stealing my
me.
prediction now, Ashley.
Can I just steal yours? I think it's great. No, I want to be bolder.
Okay.
How do I'm going to add 7. I'm going to do 34. That seems. I'll do 31. I'll do 31 for the Niners. I'll do 31 for the Niners. I think they'll do 4 touchdowns, 1 field goal. I think the Cowboys will get 2 touchdowns and 1 field goal. 30. Cool. So 7. I'm going to steal your 17, but I'm going big with the. I believe we're going to score 30 every game. Cool. I so appreciate you coming on my channel, Ryan. Thank you so much. When I reached out to you, I've been watching you since before you had your own channel. I was watching you on other people's channels, and then loved like I was saying earlier, loved that when you started your channel, you were interviewing people, really like your approach, and you can tell that you're a fan, and you've been really helpful for me and just my confidence in getting this started. So I was really appreciative that you were able to come on. Also last minute too, which not great for me to ask you last minute.
It's all good. You're doing a great job. Just keep doing you, and you're going to keep getting better and better. And I appreciate you inviting me on the show, and I'm glad to be here, and I'm looking forward to watching your growth as well.
Thank you so much. Well, we'll do it again. And thank you guys. Everyone, hit the like button, subscribe, all those things. I'll get Ryan's channel. You guys, if you're here, might literally just be here because he's here. So you're probably all subscribed to him already. But if not, I'll have it in the description. Thank you guys so much. And let's beat the Cowboys.
Thanks, Ashley.
Me and this. Little awkward.
It's all good.